that going. Okay, let me change the view to the speaker. Anyway, so go ahead, Gerald.
Okay, do you want me to share now or after I introduce myself?
However you want to do it. I don't know. So,
Okay, I'll just go ahead and introduce myself right here.
okay.
My name is Gerald Hegney. I started with WordPress at 4.9. And when 5.0 came out and I realized how it was working, I decided to switch everything in content to using the block editor only, and no page builders or any of that type of stuff. So that was my commitment. My first project was to building a family genealogy site. So, and today I decided I was just going to go through and show you how I use blocks in many of my cases, and then show you a few techniques to help you figure out what's going on, and then answer your questions about what I've done, and I can go back and review anything that you're interested in. So feel free to ask questions anytime you want or anything else like that. So with that, I'll go ahead and start sharing. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it says WordPress blocks. I've read it in big letters.
Okay. Now with WordPress, you don't think outside of the box. You think like there is no box. And that's my personal motto that I've used for years on doing this here. So when I started, I did a lot of research and figured out what I wanted to use for themes and etc. And I settled on the Astra Pro theme for that. So blocks are an ever-changing world. It'll change today. It just always contain your new settings, new features, new blocks are coming on available all the time. So if you're doing it and you haven't re-looked at yourself in over a year with blocks, I feel I need to go out and make sure I'm using the best ones. Because if you don't do that, I'm afraid I'm going to get somebody that's going to drop support for their plugin and their blocks, and then I've got a broken system, and I don't want that to happen if I'm going to do that. So don't think if you think you know it today, you won't tomorrow. Okay.
I have just a quick question is, should we hold our questions to a stopping place, or should we ask them along the way if we have them?
Go ahead and I just go ahead and ask them on the way. I don't mind that at all. Okay,
so I have a question. You're talking a little bit like blocks are kind of like plugins that have support or maybe not have support. So am I right in getting out of your statement that you do have to monitor that all the time because your block might not work?
Right, because there are a lot of plugins that add extra blocks to be available for you, like cadence blocks or stackable. And if you're using some of those blocks in your pages, they will evolve and change things. Just like in the last couple of weeks, Cadence changed they added a new block called a container, which was brand new to them. And it has some different things. They used to use a row group, and they're still there, but they just keep adding new features to them. So you got to know I feel I need to know what's going on for me.
Also, I'll just say one thing real quick here. I know that there are some plugins that have their own blocks too. You know, like I use Yoast. They have a few. They have like maybe, I don't know, like 6 blocks I think that they put in there. And there's some there's some other plugins that have that too. So anyway, there are, you know, different. There is like a support thing like you're talking about there.
Right.
So should you, to be safe, maybe stick with the actual WordPress blocks? Or maybe some of the plugins that you can trust that have been around for a long time?
If you stick with the core blocks, your WordPress will keep that going. The problem with the core blocks is they don't give you enough functionality to do everything you want to do. Now, I try to use core blocks as much as I can, but I can't do what I desire by using the core blocks. And I'll show you in a little bit. The media and text block that comes from WordPress does not do some of the things I want to do with it. And I'll show you why that works that way, because they don't have as many settings in the core as what other companies are providing in their blocks from their plugins. And again, if you stay with good companies, I think you're better off. You know, like Cadence and Stackable are both good quality programs or plugins that I feel are going to be better documented, better cared for in the future. But you just have to go out and find what you're trying to accomplish with the blocks and find the blocks that will let you do what you want. I'm using the AstroPro theme for everything you're seeing here. It is not a full site editing theme. The full site editing, which came out with 5.9, still leaves an awful lot to be desired from my world. It just isn't as flexible as it's going to be. I can see where it's going, but right now I'm not going to jump to only a full theme editor because of my choices. And this is some of the plugins that I'm using on my sites. And don't worry about copying this. I'll give you a link to this presentation at the end.
So Gerald, these aren't individual blocks necessarily. These are like sets of blocks that you're using on your site, right?
Yes, these are libraries of blocks.
Okay, good. This is one of the things I wanted to learn is what kind of stuff you're using, and then also like what they do and that kind of thing. So thank you.
Caxton is one you get with one of the programs I do. It's a block theme that's very useful, but you get it automatically when I do one of my things that I'll talk to you about in a minute. The one plugin I use that is not actually a block editor, it's called Happy Files. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. What it does is it lets you make folders of your different media items. So in other words, you can actually separate your media files into different folders and subfolders. So you don't have to scroll through 5,000 photos. You can actually narrow them down to where they're at. And that is a free plugin. And if anybody, again, I'll give you my contact information. If you have any questions about anything we discussed today and want to get back to me later, you can do that through my email. And Features is a product that lets me, I'm testing out and playing with, is it lets me automate things within blocks. So what it is, it's a block that you put within a block and then enclose what you're wanting to use. And you can make that, you can automate that so it can come in from the left side or from the top or however you want it to work. Well, it's coming into the page. So that's one of the ones I'm doing. Modula is my choice for a media grid. And I use the pro version, and it actually lets me also do this with videos, so I can manage it. And when I get to one of my pages, I'll point out one of the features I really like about Modula. Just for forms, I'm using Ninja Forms. Stackable is another reputable company that has blocks that use a library of blocks like Cadence is, and sometimes you want it all the way. Table Press is a free plugin that you can sort and use for tables that make tables very, very functional outside of what you get in Core. I'm using WooCommerce blocks with WooCommerce, and WooCommerce blocks is a group of blocks in a library for using blocks to build the product pages in WooCommerce and save them as a template. So you don't have to make each. So if I'm making 100 different cutting boards, I can do the layout for cutting boards, add that as a category, and then make that as a template for categories. Everything, every time I create a new cutting board, it'll automatically format it in the chosen selection. So you can do that individually or as a group. And then also I'm looking at CSS for automation for Gutenberg. So CSS automation, I think, is going to win. But I just wanted you to see I'm always looking at things and changing things at that point in time. Any questions at this time?
Yeah, I got to. So the CSS animation, like you have to know how to program a little bit to use those, right?
No, this is non-programmable CSS. What you do is it adds a section into your settings, and then you pick, that's when you put that block in, you can go in and choose what type of automation you want to do with it.
Oh, no kidding.
And you don't have to write any code at all.
Interesting. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Thank you.
Gerald, where do you get happy files at?
It's on the web, it's on WordPress website.
I just did a search in for plugins. I didn't find it.
You didn't find it? I'll have to look it up and put it in the chat.
Thanks.
But okay, well, let's start with my first thing I did to learn WordPress. My mouse sometimes with the dual screen sometimes makes it hard to see some things. This is what I started out with, is that I built a family genealogy website for my family. And again, this is all in blocks and doing different things with it so you can. And why it's doing that, I don't know. It's showing me in the small size. Okay, well, I can do this. So what I have is that my family for over 120 years has been having a family reunion, and we're still going and still going strong. So that's one of the things I want to share information. So if somebody wants to come here and know about our reunion, they can click on the reunion itself. That's going to come up. And this is my great-great-grandparents who came from England and their children. And this tells about what the family reunion is and where it's at. And you can send me any information or questions if you'd like to go to it. So it's fairly large. Now, we're not as big as we used to be, but we're still keeping it going. So, but that's where my family genealogy is at. The young man on the left lower picture is my grandfather. So that was, and this picture was taken in 1915. So, but that was a family reunion back in 1915. So that was there. Now, coming back up here, Now I'm going to go behind the scenes. There is a membership wall that only those that are approved and request access can actually see what we're doing. So if I come here for my family, this is a table. I'm using a plugin called Roots Persona. If anybody's familiar with genealogy, that's the interchange format for general genealogy programs. So this Roots Persona takes the GEDCOM file I've generated from my genealogy site and makes all the pages and the basics for the whole system. So it doesn't take, it's not hard. The problem with this is it's strictly set number of people per page, and there's no way to sort and dig down and use things. So if I click on one of my family genealogy sites, okay, this doesn't have much, but what it does is it brings up your pedigree charts. And if you have any information about, and this one doesn't have a lot, but any information that's in my genealogy program is now available on this website to look at.
Yeah, so is that is this still the table plugin that you're using for that?
Well, the table plugin is to select the individual page.
Okay, so that's just that other page that you were on.
Right,
Okay.
that's just that.
And
So-
all that does is it gives you the list of pages and it puts all the people in alphabetical order and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's all it does. It doesn't allow you for any and see, I clicked the number over on the right-hand side,
Hmm.
and this one has more in it, a little more. But this gives me everything about that person is that, and that's what Roots Persona provides me. Now, in reality, what I'm switching to is and this is my development area. I'm switching to table press. That's what this is. This is my table press. The user can select how many items they want on a page, and then they can come over to search. If I could type correctly. Okay, now what it's doing is it's filtering by everywhere you find the Wymore, the WY in a name. And it narrows it down to just those people. So you can keep typing to narrow it down. So you don't have to scroll through to page 45 to get to it.
Hey, Gerald,
Yes.
does that allow you to sort tables by topics?
By what?
Topics.
I'm not sure what that word is. What?
Yeah, by categories.
Oh, yes, you can actually put a whole bunch of table columns in this, hide them, and then use that for sorting. So
Right.
you can change the sorting dramatically. And if you want to put something in a field like a table column, like that would say indoor or outdoor, you could put indoor or outdoor in each one of those and then only show the indoor or the outdoor. And have the user switch. So I think it's a pretty nice, easy using tool. And there's lots of videos on it up on YouTube. And the young man, he does ask for donations if you feel like donating to somebody. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to Richard Burton. And now when I open up, this is where I'm going to. This is going to have all of the information and piles on it. Then I can I've got buttons that I can go to do things. And I can show the pedigree chart. And this one has quite a bit in it. So this is my great grandfather. So it's on knowing things. And within this, you can actually jump. You can see the highlighting in here. I can jump to the different people. If from here, I don't have to go back to the table to choose. So if I'm digging in.
So I have a question. Which blocks are you using on this page?
Let me think what it is. I'm using several blocks on this page.
Okay,
This area with the person and the name is a media and text block. This is a block of buttons. These are actually tabs that I'm using. And then I'm in the tabs, and I'm bringing up the information in the tab for that using a short code that is available from Roots Persona.
Hey, Gerald, would it be, I don't want to, however you're going to do the presentation is great. I'm just wondering, like, it would be interesting if we could see, like, if you went to the edited page, where you're editing it like live, I don't want to mess up your page that you're on. And maybe that's something you're going to get into. I don't know. I'm not trying to jump the gun here.
I had planned on showing how this works, but
okay.
Now I'll go ahead and show it now.
Okay. Yeah. However you want to do it. I'm not trying to mess anything up on you.
Oh, no, I don't mind it. I like to share knowledge, so.
Thank you. Yeah, because then this will help. We can see the way the different blocks work on this.
Okay, this is the name of the page that I'm on, and I hide the name of the page, so I have better control. And then this here is actually a media and text block. You can go up here and see the different things on it. So I can put an image in here when I'm ready, and then I can edit either of these. Now, the way I built this is these buttons are all the same on every page. So those are a reusable block with the buttons in them. And if I need to redirect them, I can do it one place and it's done. So it stays, it updates my pages on that. And then I work with the tabs and set that up on the different tabs. So and it doesn't work as quick as I would like it to, but it's doable. So what I do is I'm actually looking at that. And what I'm doing is I'm using a combination of regular blocks and reusable blocks, but I start with reusable blocks. Everything in here is a reusable block. So I can add to it, and then I can convert that to a temporary block. So let me show you how that works.
Oh, median text. Okay, so here I'm just finding that median text block. Okay, I'd never seen that one before. I wanted to see if that was a standard. It looks like it's a standard WordPress block.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway, I just had never seen it or never tried to use it before. So interesting.
Okay, let's go out and start a new page. Again, bear with me, I'm doing one-handed now.
That's right. You broke your hand there.
Yeah, I broke my arm 10 days ago.
Oh, that's not good.
So, okay, so I just gave it a title. Then I'm going to come down here to the, up here to the plus sign. Then I'm going to go to reusable blocks. The first one is named name heading. So I click that in, and that brings in the reusable block. That has it. Now, I can click on these two boxes overlaying each other and convert the reusable blocks to normal blocks. So I can now edit the name and the date and the photo without impacting everybody else.
Yeah, and just so I understand what's going on, your reusable blocks are that's a pattern that you've created, right? You've set that up, that like you've put together a certain format of blocks and then made that one reusable block so you can use it time and again, right?
Yes.
So is that a special way of saving it so it's reusable?
Yeah, when you create a reusable block, you start with a blank page, and then at the end you can. I'm trying to remember where it's at. You can save it as a reusable block. You give it a name and things. So these are like, just like Jim was saying, these are like patterns. So the first pattern I'm doing, and I picked the wrong page, so I picked the wrong item, excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to go up here and add a reusable block. And genealogy heading is what I want to put on. So what I did is just put this media block, and then I click it to remove, to make it editable and not impact everybody else that's using that block.
Oh, can you show how to do that again?
Do add,
Edit it so that it doesn't change every other.
Oh.
Because my understanding is when you use a reusable block, if you make a change to it, it makes a change to every place that block is being used.
In theory, that is possible. That's partially true. You have the ability on a group, on a reusable block, of converting it to conventional blocks, which disconnects it from the reusable block feature. So if I change this here,
Yes.
so if I change this to Joe, and I put a date of okay. So that is there. Now, if I come down below here and I want to add another reusable block, and I'm going to add the same one. Well, it doesn't want to let me do that. I'm having some issues with connections.
If you're using these extensively and without any significant problems.
Yeah, once in a while I get slow connections.
No, the reason I ask is I have just a couple of simple reusable blocks, but for some reason, I make a change. I don't even know how I make a change, and I don't mean to, and it saves it, and then it affects everything else, and then I have to go back in and re-edit the block.
Okay,
It's been causing me problems.
Well, there is a specific thing that you can set to be able to separate one block as by itself and not connected to the other. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but when I took this overview class on LinkedIn, they went over that. So it's possible that you could find a tutorial that would show you exactly how
I've
to
never
do it.
seen that. I've never seen that. I just did the WordPress just on the reusable blocks gives you a way of converting it to standard blocks. That's the only thing I'm aware of.
Thanks, Tess.
Okay, so let me publish that.
Dragon.
So I've got that. Okay. I hit with this locking up, it's not working normal for me.
Yeah, I think it's the, resources issues and stuff like that. It's probably Zoom running too on it, that
Yeah.
is affecting things, but just do the best you can. We're still following along.
Okay. So in theory, you should be able to, and I've done it. I've got over 5,000 pages on this site right now that I'm doing this with. So, but I just build up the individual blocks and let them go. So I can leave it the way I want it. And then when you're in the blocks, if you click up on the three little meatballs up here in the upper right for options, you can actually, there's a, where's it at? Manage reusable blocks. So you can actually come in here, click on this, and it'll give you a list of all your reusable blocks so you can work on them and edit them. Is that enough of an explanation, or has somebody got more questions?
That's great. Thanks.
Okay, I am going to go back to,
So when you are going to add a block to a page and you get the list of blocks, does that include all of the collections from your plugins? Or not the plugin, collection from all of your block collections that you've installed?
no, it doesn't. You should, you can have it so that those plugins will automatically update, or it will show you what you need to manually update on the, actually like the library plugins.
Well, I don't mean the update part. I meant if you want to add a block to a page and you go to select one, do all of your collections show up for you to pick a block from, or do you have to go to a separate list?
You can do it if you click on the plus sign up here in the upper left. This brings up the list of all all of the blocks and the plugins and everything that you've got installed.
Okay, so that includes all of your collections, that plug-in collections of blocks.
Not except the reusable. It does not, this does not show the reusable. You have to click on the reusable tab up at the top.
Okay, all right.
That will show you the reusable tabs that you've created.
What are patterns? I see patterns in the middle. There's blocks, patterns, and reusable. What are patterns?
Okay. We've got a bad internet connection here. What patterns are basically right now coming from your theme. And what they have over here on the left-hand side, you have all the different pattern layouts. It's like a template.
Oh,
And if you see something you like in here, and this is going to grow considerably over the next year or two. So if you find a pattern that you like these two flower patterns together, you can just double click on it and it'll bring it right into your page. And then you can start editing what you want on that page.
Okay, that's like super weird.
Well,
What?
I think you can put your own photos and stuff in there, but that's the layout of
Oh, that's the, okay. All right.
Yeah, if you click on this item right here, I can actually pick what photo I want in here.
Got it.
Huh.
Just a placeholder so that you know where it's going to start at.
Okay. So it's kind of like layout options.
Yes,
Okay.
And they just added this last WordPress update. They just added a whole bunch of these patterns. So that's kind of a new thing that we're looking at here with the patterns.
Got it.
but what it is it shows you what it looks like, and then you can go in and change that on that. So if on the lilies here, I can click replace, and I can go out to where I want to go. That's where the iris is at. That's the actual location of it. I can open the media library. I can select that. And now I've got that photo is now part of my replace the flowers.
So patterns
So
are
it-
patterns are essentially someone else's reusable blocks.
yeah, it looks like, and the images that are in the patterns are just to show that it's an image block or a photo block and not something else, and not a text block, I guess.
So
Thanks for saying that, Jim. I was feeling kind of like Patricia. I was like, I just can't get my head around those.
I'm like, I know, I'm like, oh, what do we want that for? Okay, thanks.
okay, well, one of the things that, let me go back out here to the replace. If you notice over here on the left-hand side, these are the folders that Happy Files creates, so I can break them down into different categories, etc. So I don't have to dig through the entire collection. Right now, there's over 1,000 items in here, but I've broken some of them down, and you can click and organize them and put them in detail that fits what you want to do.
That seems really useful.
Yeah, same to me.
And you can also put subfolders beneath this, and I haven't found a limit yet. I've done 3 down, so. But it works very, very well, I feel.
Hey, Gerald, since you're in there, this is the thing, right? I think you were going to look and see, like, is there, oh, it's probably on a different page. You were going to look and see where that is. You know, I was trying to see if there's a name for Happy Files on there, but I don't see it. So anyway, we can do that later.
Okay. So I think this makes it easier for me to know where things are at. You know, I mean, I right now, if I put everything up there, I would have over 500,000 images. And trying to sort through 500,000 images without having them put in folders and subfolders, I think would be extremely hard for me.
No wonder your computer's running a little slow.
Oh. Oh, that's not, I've lucky, I haven't put them all up on there, but I have over 500,000 image files to use.
Holy cow.
And I'll show you why in a minute. So, any questions on what I'm doing here in my family genealogy? Okay, well, this is, let me go to the next screen. And this one here I've got, if you notice, I had that name pop in, it wasn't there instantly. That's a CSS automation and testing out on doing that for all the different things. And you can play with different things on doing it. So and this is a site that I have that I make things like cutting boards, t-shirts, etc. And this is where all of the images come from, is I'm using that in that part of my business. Okay. Because if I go here to design ideas, and this is under development, so it's not quite what I want it yet. Okay, if you notice now down here at the bottom, I've got design ideas that I can look at for ideas for doing things, like if you wanted to do a family reunion or a business t-shirt or whatever, you know, decals, whatever you want to do on it, you can choose whatever you want for the product, and then that product can be down. I can take that product, change the colors, change the wording and everything on it that anybody wants for doing that. So, and if you notice over here at the left, there's over 6,500 design ideas in the system. Also have clip art, and there's over 10,000 clip arts on here. And we can mix them. We can take the clip art, move it to different design ideas, take two clip art ideas and put them together however the user wants us to do them. So you can see where I can get a lot of images fairly fast.
I might have missed something, but is this a plugin or is this a site, and is it paid? Do you have to pay for these, or?
This is a subscription site, so yes,
Okay.
it's a pay site. I'll be happy to share the information with you, but it is a subscription site that I pay for, and get new images every month. There's over 300 different fonts that are available to me. So if somebody wants to make, you know, take like the double triangle here and turn that into a basketball logo themed item, we can do that.
Where do these images come from?
They're on the cloud, and that's the subscription is what gets you access to it.
So it sounds like graphic artists submit these images, and then they're somehow paid for them because it's a subscription site.
Actually, this company is big enough that they have their own designers building what they want to show.
Oh, okay.
So these are not available. I don't know what they would do if somebody submitted any artwork to them. I could ask Craig, but this is a big tool that I use, and I use this company a lot because I do all of my images and whatever I'm doing. I actually work them before I put them up on WordPress. I don't do image changing on WordPress. I build what I want it to be and show it. So I can crop it, do whatever I want to, put overlays on it. So I just use my own thing on that. So that's one of the things I'm doing. The next thing I'd like to show you is this is anybody familiar with e-commerce, WooCommerce itself? This is a standard e-commerce, WooCommerce product page. Every page, whatever you put on it, takes the same layout, everything exactly the same. And I personally don't like that. So if I do that, back here, and Jen has seen this. I've been playing in here, so it may not work. But what I've will do, if you saw that, if I come here, and this is using a block feature, that is my new layout page for my product. So I can put whatever I want, wherever I want it, etc. Put a background image. This gives me the ability to determine where and what's going to go in. So that's one of the ways I use blocks also. So basically at this time, I'm open to questions, and we can look at, oh, one other thing before we do that. One of the things I do is I will create a demo page, and I will test out each of the different, when I put a block library on like Cadence or Stackable, I actually go out and run that and look at every one of the things and sees what features it's getting. So if I do, if I go down here to so this is one of the new products that comes with Cadence, and that's a section. By the way, if anybody's using Elementor, they're changing their section, I think, to container, and I think this is going to be the same thing. They're renaming some of the things. So if I have this, then this is a container that I can add more products to.
So the container is, you can, instead of having one block per thing, you can stick like 2 or more blocks in one container, right?
Right. So inside of there, I am going to insert a 3-page so this added a column in there, and it's inside the, the first, it's in its own container. So you can put these things in, this has columns, so it's got 2. I can put text, I can put images. I can even go add another row of layout inside of that. So this is one row column in the first one, and then I've added these 3 columns inside of that one column. So you can adjust it and make it wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very flexible. If you just have to think before you what
And
you
then-
want to accomplish and then figure out how to do it.
And then each one of those things could be a different block, right? So now that you've made the 3 in there on the left, you could now make one of those things. That's the beauty of a container block.
Right, so I can put an image in here or whatever.
This looks very much like a builder like Divi, where you can
Oh.
put,
All builders work basically similar. But this is much lighter weight than what Divi gives up. And you're not you're locked into Divi world. You can't get out of it. If you're using blocks, you can switch blocks.
yeah, I know, I was just saying that Blocks has made a version that's flexible in the way that Divi is, so that you
Yeah.
have another way to do that. That's
Are you-
good to know.
Is this putting blocks inside of a container? Is that because you have the Cadence plugin? Or is this native to blocks in Gutenberg?
There are container blocks that are native to Gutenberg.
Okay,
But some of those don't have as much, you can't set some things as easy as you can on other things.
so that's why you use Cadence.
That's why I use Cadence and other blocks at times.
So
I would-
Gerald, is this a Cadence theme that you're using right here, or
I'm using Astra.
Astra? Okay, because what I'm wondering is, I noticed you have the Genesis blocks, but you don't have a Genesis system, and it doesn't look like you're using, the Cadence system. Looks like you can use all those no matter what theme you're using. Is that right?
Yes, most themes will let you use any of the different blocks like Cadence or Stackable or whatever.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought because I use some Genesis blocks on the one I'm in, and then I'm probably going to move here to something else, in a year or so, and so I've been thinking I'm going to have to get rid of my Genesis blocks, but I may not have to.
Okay, now let me show you one thing that I think is very, very important. And okay, I'm going to do another row layout, and I'm just going to use a single. Meant to only have one. So I can change it. Now inside of this row layout container, I'm going to insert a media and text box. So it's got the image content, and you can switch those if you want to. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to do another row layout. And I'm going to put an image into here. Okay, so.
Yes.
Now I've got that with my card. Now, if I want to do something like I want to overlay this onto the flower so it would work, there's no way in this system with this drop down that I can do that. I can I can change sizes, but I can't move that. I can't add margins and padding with dealing with this. So for doing the overall thing. So that's kind of, you're kind of locked in on things. So if you go like I was going to do here, and let's just do another row layout. Okay, if I do a row layout here with 2 pieces, and I go in here and add an image, and I add that to my image. Now I come over here and I do a paragraph. This may surprise some people. So that's there. Now, what I can do now is I can start taking this and I can increase the size of the font. On that. Now I've got these 2 are actually independent blocks. Okay, now I can select the box container. And I can go up here to padding and margins. And what I can do is I can put a padding at the top. So I can do that. I can put it from the bottom. I can,
Interesting. So that's kind of like Elementor type stuff right there.
now this is just, margins and paddings that have been used forever.
Right.
So I can now do this, and now what I can do is under the margins, what I can do on the right-hand side, I can put a negative 25. And you'll see it starting to move the
Mm-hmm.
item over. So if I want to keep doing that, so now I can overlay my other block by using
Interesting.
padding.
And which this is the row, like what who has that block? Is that the cadence block?
That is a cadence block.
Okay.
Stackable has one that's very much equivalent to it.
Okay.
Now, if you're using the just the image, the columns in core WordPress don't give you that much flexibility.
Yeah, because I haven't seen that before.
So you just have to think what you want to do and then find out what will allow you to achieve it.
That sounds very inspirational, Gerald.
Well, I hope I haven't confused too many people.
No, this has been good. Hey, can you do one thing? So can you take 2 individual blocks and show how to make them into a reusable block?
Sure, absolutely.
Can you do that with just a native Gutenberg block?
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to start a new page here. And I'm going to put okay. Now, if I wanted, what would you like? Let's do an image here
Okay.
to start with. Let's just okay, so I did that. Now I'm going to add what would we like to add now?
How about a separator below it?
I believe this is the default separator. So it's there. And
then what if you put a heading below that? So we'll have a three-piece block there. There we go.
okay, so I put a color on it. And then below that, we want to put a header.
Interesting. So you have all sorts of options on your stuff.
Oh, yeah. And one of the things I'm finding is that as time goes along, more of the features I'm wanting to try to use are being incorporated into core.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, it'll actually give me more and more all the time on doing that. Okay, so there's a heading.
Perfect.
Okay, so I come up here to the 3 dots. Okay, what I want to do is copy all content. Then we'll start with a new page. Well, let's do publish.
No.
This used to be a lot simpler.
Is there a place where you group those together? Because you put 3 different blocks on there. There should be a way to group them together and then save them.
Okay. It's hard for me to do it because I've only got one hand and I can't like use the Alt and the Control button.
Right.
Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay.
Well, you got a nose, Gerald. You could, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I
And now you should be able to save the group.
yeah, I can't get them grouped right now.
Okay. Because you have to hit the Alt button, right?
Right,
And click on all three of them, and it highlights all three of them.
right, and then make them into a reusable group.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't wasn't anyway. Yeah. So you have to hit all three of them, and then where would you go on the menu to group them together?
When you have them up there when you have them selected, if you click on the three little meatballs here on the right, as you can when you click on that, there's a group.
Okay, right there. Okay.
There it is. Now I can add the reusable group. I don't know if it'll add the whole thing or not.
Okay, I got you. That's what I was wondering.
Okay.
That's what I was wondering. So you hit the Alt button, click all three, hit the little hamburger, the three menu or the three dots there, and then go up to reusable.
Save as reusable. block.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little bit handicapped.
No, that's just the way it is, you know.
Well, if I confused anybody or if I convinced anybody to go out and test out the block areas.
What I want to, I mean, what you've tempted me to do is explore into the other blocks. I mean, the amount of blocks that you have available is impressive, you know. And so I'm going to look into the cadence blocks and some of the other ones that you have listed there, because you have a lot of options, you know, way beyond the standard WordPress stuff.
And one of the things, if you're not using, when I get done, I'm going to go in and all the different blocks, like from cadence that I'm not using, I'm going to turn off their visibility so I won't see them anymore.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that too, because you have to, you know, there's too many options almost.
Oh, yeah. So, but it's fun to play with them when you're trying to figure out how to do things.
Yeah, and trying to solve problems. How have you discovered all
hmm.
these different blocks, Gerald?
Well,
Just research?
research. I read like WP Tavern and then WordPress.org for sites, and I can read about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I also use YouTube to look for new things.
Oh, okay.
And meetups. I mean, I've picked up a lot of these ideas from meetups.
Yeah, because you had several just in your separator options. You had several different. Because I'm not fond of the normal Genesis, or not Genesis, but Gutenberg separator that they have.
Yeah, some of those separators, you can do a lot with them and layer them and do all kinds of fun things with them. Although I'm trying to do my own outside of here so I can have colors that are different than most people.
Yeah.
But as I said, I use an editing program to help me monitor and actually set up and lower the quality of the image down to 72 DPI, so it doesn't make it very useful for anybody to copy.
Right.
And I do all of that before I get up. And one of the things I've got to look into right now, my edit program currently is not supporting WebP. And even though they postponed it, WordPress says they want to go to 100% WebP.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to start looking for that process so I can do that when it's time.
I've got so I use WordPress Rocket or WP Rocket, and then they have one called Imagify, I think, and that's all WebP, you know. Like they work together. I don't have to do anything with it. So, but there's a little button I click and it says, you know, make WebP, I don't know, images or something, and that's all I do. So anyway, go ahead,
I'm
Tessa.
trying to do it outside of WordPress
Gotcha.
because I can use some of those WebP files elsewhere in my system.
Go ahead, Tessa.
Well, I was just going to say from playing around what I worked with in my sample was, and I use Divi as a comparison because that's the one that I have been working with over the last years or so. Divi has the equivalent of blocks, and they have a very, very large array of styles that you can apply to make different visual effects. And it looks like that's a lot more limited in the blocks that I've seen for WordPress. Not all of them, because it looks like each block, depending on who's created it, allows you to do certain things with font size and font style and boundaries and all sorts of things. But it seems like at this point, it might not be enough for people who want to do a lot of formatting. So you would, if you want certain styles, you might have to create a sub theme and add your own CSS or get somebody to put that in to get certain of those effects that you want. Not that all the basics aren't there, and they definitely are. And I'm going to play around with them a lot more. Gerald has pointed out a lot of these different blocks that I'm going to try. And some of them look like they have a lot more formatting than the core blocks. But something to be aware of is almost like with the theme that you choose, is that you may be limited in what colors and styles and so forth you can add, depending on who put the block together. That's all.
And the other thing I was thinking is, it's kind of like you have to, like, if you want to do something, you kind of have to go out there and search and see if there's a block for it, you know? So it's kind of like the Wild West of blocks out there, you know? That like they're just not all like arranged necessarily. I mean, you know, you can get different groups of them, but then anyway, so it's a little bit complicated, I guess, that way, you know?
It
Well,
also,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it also seems, I mean, if you do want to do a lot of customization and you have to do it through plugins, that makes your site heavy and you know, to some degree, a little bit unmanageable because you're always having to update your plugins and make sure that one plugin isn't disabling something else. And I mean, it doesn't seem as likely these kind of plugins, it seems like they're fairly simple because they're you know, they're inserting blocks, but nevertheless, it seems like it'd be nice if Gutenberg were just robust right out of the gate instead of having to put all this other stuff in there. But I think what happened is that WordPress just felt all this pressure from page builders like Divi and Elementor and all of those, and you know, WordPress is like, oh my God, this is the future. We better get on the bandwagon, right? So it's a little messy right now.
I agree with you.
Brings up a good question, though. And I don't know if anybody else has any information about it, but typically plugins for WordPress do add a lot of weight to the site. And I'm wondering, are block plugins still lightweight? Does anybody know?
I think you wouldn't really know until you started adding a bunch of them and see what happens.
Well,
you
the
know?
advantage to using the Gutenberg blocks or the WordPress blocks is supposed to be that the code is very lightweight and it's fast. So when you start adding additional blocks from other sources, how do we know whether that is going to slow the site down or not? I something to investigate. I don't really know.
That's why when you get done and ready for production, you go in and disable all of the blocks you're not using from any of the plugins.
Hmm,
And it only loads what you use.
okay.
It's a good question though, like how much is there one particular brand that slows things way down or, I mean, I don't know how you'd figure that out.
Well, I think that's where you start doing your A/B testing if it's really like that critical, you build, you run some with lots of plugins, you start removing them, see what happens with your load time, et cetera. I mean, if it's that critical. If you have a commerce site, I would think that would be critical. If it's if it's a pleasurable blog, I don't think the load time and, how heavy the site is that big of a deal, but commerce, it would make a difference. And I could see it making difference in other kinds of sites, but that's something that just comes to mind right away, commerce. Very interesting. I thought this was great, really informational. Thanks for doing that, one-armed.
Yes. Who knew, I mean, anyway, but thank you, Gerald. That's very much appreciated.
I'm going to throw the link in there to the presentation I showed you earlier. And it's a link to it. And at the bottom of the last slide, there is my email address. If anybody wants to contact me, feel free to send me an email and questions. I'm very happy to share knowledge.
Well, thank you.
That's
Yeah.
good.
I'm definitely interested in that, your names that you had there, I want to explore some of that stuff. So looks interesting.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So you just put in the chat there, Gerald, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll give everybody a chance to grab that link there.
Got it.
So yeah,
I have-
we're wrapping it. I mean, does anybody else have, I think we're wrapping up here a little bit early. Seems like we're wrapping up, but I feel like we've run the course here. We had a little bit smaller group, so it's going to go a little bit faster than normally, Does anybody want anything or any questions or? Okay.
Not now. I have to run to another meeting.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So anyway, appreciate it. So Gerald volunteered, to do a presentation for us on this, and we very much appreciate it. And we're always looking for, people that have, this is a blogging group. If you have something you want to talk about or something that you're qualified, qualified is, I use that very loosely, but if you have something you want to present or anything or help the group out, we would very much appreciate it. And you can contact us. I will put my name in here.
I want to thank everybody for their patience in working with me while we were doing and discussing things. It's always nice to do these type of things.
Yeah. And you're running, you probably don't have too much trouble, but here you're running Zoom along with your your normal stuff on your, I know it's slowing your computer down a little bit there. So, but anyway, well, with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to stop the recording here.